Says I'm live. Howdy, folks. Kevin here. Let's get to testing. Welcome to the live stream. Today we are going to be looking at the Applitools cross-browser testing hackathon, which was a hackathon that the folks at Applitools put together back in June. And I wanted to run through it at that point in time, but I didn't because of time restrictions and things like that. So now, with their help, they are sponsoring this for me to go through and kind of do the hackathon ourselves and see what it's like. Trying a few things out this week with the video resolution. So let me know if it's too low quality. I've had issues in the past with the stream having some lagginess to it because of it's just too much for my computer to handle. But so I turned down some of the settings to hopefully reduce the need on the computer. But that could mean that the quality isn't quite there. I need to find a good mix between performance and the look. So anyway, I really hope I didn't just unplug my microphone. But yeah, who knows. So yeah, there's a gnat flying around my office. So if you see me swatting, that's why you know. And the gnat's name is Gary, as mentioned in the chat. So if you're on chat, say hi. I'd love to say hi back to you. Yeah, it really doesn't like my video resolution. Oh well, it's just gonna have to deal with that. Okay, so what are we gonna start off with looking at? This is the cross-browser testing hackathon. So they have basically two apps that are basically the same app. It's a shoe app. And if we go between the two, they're pretty much the same. You do notice the filters is available in version 2. It's not there in version 1. They're also in version 1. Those are there. Let's see. But they're not there in version 2, which seems like a bug. It should be the exact same functionality. And the challenge is, say you are in in your workplace, you need to compare, or basically you're going to write tests for version 1 and they should all pass. And then you're going to compare that to tests for version 2 and adapt them to catch all the bugs in version 2. So the assumption is that version 1 is a non-buggy app, so there's no bugs at all. Version 2 does have known bugs. And we need to check this on desktop and mobile. So I brought up mobile view here. And there's going to be 3 different tasks we have to work on. We're going to do a cross-device elements test. So this is basically a responsive design and checking that the elements are hidden or shown as you change your viewport. So you see here that top menu bar seems to disappear when you go to the mobile app view. And so that's some of the things you're going to want to check. Yep. And then we're going to have a shopping experience test. So we'll filter for shoes and ensure there's only 2 black shoes showing and everything works and looks good. Then our product details. So we'll go to the first black shoe and navigate to its detail page. Check that everything looks good and accurate. We're going to take 2 approaches to this, and this is kind of the meat of this hackathon. Is you have your traditional approach, which would be something standard like WebDriver IO, just checking for elements. I'm going to use a heavy reliance on is displayed to check for that. We'll see what other kind of checks we can do for the display of our elements to see what we can check. And then we're also going to use the modern visual AI approach, which is using Applitools to take screenshots of the certain elements on the page and then have it run through their visual AI, and it will compare those screenshots and let you know if there's any regressions. So that's the core of what we'll be doing. They put together this hackathon specifically because they have something new called the ultra fast grid, and we're going to take a look at that I don't know when. We're going to take a look at that though and see what the ultra fast grid is about. Let me bring up my notes about my outline for what I want to talk about. Oh, we're also going to test in multiple browsers. That is another big part of this. Let's see. Where did they mention multiple browsers? So they did run this. There we go. They ran this event a couple months back. So it was in June, and I think it ran through July. And you can actually see the winners. They gave out $50,000 in prizes, and the top two prizes earned $5,000, and then you had platinum winners and gold winners, and then silver winners, and all the way down you had other winners, things like that. Yeah, so this has already run the course, but we're going to try it out for ourselves because it sounded really interesting to me and wanted to try that out. So they do these hackathons. They've done one before. Let's switch back over to scroll all the way down. They did a Visual AI Rockstar Hackathon. They did that last year, and so I think they do one or two a year. Pretty cool little event that people can take part of, and if you're looking for like a good portfolio piece, this makes a great portfolio piece. Plus, you get the chance to earn some prize money, so that's pretty cool. Okay, we talked about multiple browsers. In our test, so I'm going to use, you can use any test framework you want. We'll be using WebDriver IO. It says WebDriver IO version 5, but I've used Applitools with version 6 earlier this week, and it does seem to work, at least the base stuff. So we're going to try it with version 6, because that way we can use some of the newer features there. And so that's what we'll be testing. WebDriver IO version 6 plus Applitools to get our test written. So we've got our different browser and viewports. I'm probably going to use Sauce Labs to get specifically Edge, because I'm on OS X and Edge is not on OS X. So we'll be using Sauce Labs to run some of these tests. Let's talk about the ultra fast grid real quick. Basically, let's see if they have an overview, because I think they have a video. Let's scoot through the video, and I want to see if there is a graph that kind of describes what's going on, because I know the graph really is very useful. Normally what we do in our testing is we use something like Sauce Labs to run our tests, and we'll run, say we have one test and we want to run it against 3 browsers. I think they had that over here. Scroll up. They have the 3 browsers at the 3 different resolutions plus 1 extra. So this would be 7 different tests that you have to run. So if you have one test, it's actually taking the time of running 7 different tests. What the ultra fast grid does is you run your one test on a single browser. You send that to the Applitools SDK. They're going to take a copy of the page and load it in their ultra fast grid. And I'm going to say that a lot, so maybe I'll just say the UG or the UFG. That's going to render that page, that static HTML that they saved from your test run, in all of their browsers that they have set up. Then they'll take all the screenshots that they need to do the comparison, run the Visual AI, and then return the pass-fail to your test. So instead of running one test 7 different times, it's basically running one test, taking the results from the page, rendering it just then, so you don't have to go through that full flow. You just go to the page that you're on and then render it, and so it should speed everything up. And we're gonna test that out and see how it works. Excuse me. You can use Applitools without this. This is one of their newer features that they have, and so it's gonna be fun to kind of compare the two. Okay. So there's a few more administrative notes to talk about. They want us to what to submit. Basically, you're going to submit a GitHub repo with the following. So you'll have your traditional tests for the version 1 of the app, traditional test for version 2 of the app, modern test using the UFG for 1 and 2, and then these test results as well. Today we're probably just going to look at these 2 items. I don't think we're going to get to the UFG today. So what I'm planning on doing, this is probably going to take about 8 hours total of development to get everything done. Most of it's going to be in the traditional side of things because that's going to be probably the most work. So today we're going to look at the first task, which is this cross-device elements test, get everything set up, and we'll see how far we go. I'll be around for about 2 hours today working on this. So yeah, this folder is what we'll be getting set up. So I'll have this GitHub repo available to share for anybody who wants to take a look at it. That was actually part of the reason why I didn't do it back then, was I didn't want to do all this, share it for everybody publicly, and some malicious person take it and submit it as their own and kind of cause trouble on the Applitools side of things. So now that it's all over, I don't have to worry about that. So this is just talking about, and let's increase the screen size of this. Do you remember in IE6 where you couldn't increase the font size? There was this big issue, this big accessibility issue where you weren't allowed to use pixels for font sizes because in IE6 you couldn't, if you used pixels, it wouldn't let the user increase the font size at all, which was completely ridiculous. And so that's why we had to all switch to using EMs. And then you had these conversion charts between pixels and EMs, and it was really kind of a headache, but also like this badge of honor if you were a CSS developer who used EMs. And I'm sure a couple years after, everybody was using EMs, even though IE6 was no longer in use, and everybody used them because that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to use pixels, you're supposed to use EMs. And I'm sure there were many newcomers who were like, why can't I use pixels? Like, that's how it is in the Photoshop comp, so why would I not want to use that here? Yeah, that was a mess. IE6 was a mess, and be glad if you never had to work with it. Be glad for it. Okay. So basically it's saying typically the tests that we write for version 1 aren't going to be enough to catch all the bugs in version 2. We'll also have some issues with locators. We'll take a look at locators / element selectors in just a minute. And so they'd like us to copy over test version 1 to test version 2. I'm not sure we're going to do that. We'll see. We are going to take a look at how we can run. Oh, there's Gary the Gnat. He's over there. I'll leave him be for a little bit. We are going to look at how we can run the same test using a different URL. It's pretty easy with WebDriver.io. And maybe even use the same type of selectors or the same page objects. We'll be taking a look at writing page objects and everything as we go through this. Same thing for modern. Cool. We're not going to be submitting it because the deadline has passed. That's all right. So I got started yesterday, and let me bring up a new terminal. Let's do, you know what? I don't want that one. I have different terminal styles, and we are going to go with the old DOS style, because why not? There we go. So I got started a little bit last night, or yesterday, putting together a basic folder. It has WebDriver.io. So to do this, I just created the new folder. And then is this MS-DOS style? Yeah, it is MS-DOS. It was also like WordPerfect way back when. WordPerfect, boy, that was in the 90s. Okay. Regardless, I created this new folder. I did an npm init-y that creates a package.json with just basic information in it. Then I did my npm i wdio/cli. This creates a this installs. I is short for install. It installs WebDriver IO, the command line interface, that's the CLI. And then I ran npx wdio. If you're not familiar with the npx command, it's basically a shortcut for doing node modules.bin/wdio. So instead of having to type node modules.bin, you just do npx. And the bin folder is any local dependency that you get installed. It can install a command to the bin folder, and you can use you can run it as a command line interface, which is what we did here. So I ran that and I did config, and I went through the config file. You see it's generated there. Let's walk through what I did real quick, but I'm not going to run the install because I've had issues with the install taking a long time before. So I'm going to answer these and hopefully remember to not click the final answer. I did, we'll use Sauce Labs because we want to test on multiple devices. We're going to use the default variable username and password. It asks if we want to run this on Sauce Headless. I'll say no. And then in what region? We'll just do US. We are going to be using Mocha. At some point, I will go through like writing test in Cucumber. I just prefer Mocha, and I want to keep this as simple as I can. Do I want to run these commands synchronously or asynchronously? I always choose synchronously. It's going to be a rare day when I choose asynchronously, but where are my test specs located? Just in the default test/specs folder. Do we want to auto-generate these files? No. Those are just some default files. We're going to be creating our own, so we don't want to do that. Are we using a compiler? We're going to go with no, because that's just going to make things a little bit too complicated. Reporters, we're just going to go with the spec reporter. At the end of this, probably on stream number 4 of this, if we have time, we're going to look at writing in here. That's the getting started, concepts. No. Somewhere in here they have some information on what that report should look like. We'll take a look at that yeah, if we get to it, we'll take a look at it. So for now, I'm just going to go with spec. We're going to use Chrome driver. We could actually skip Chrome driver now that WebDriver IO version 6 has Chrome DevTools support. But in my experience, there's still a little bit of work to do there to get the full support up there. And so I don't want to mess with any potential bugs that I have to work around. I want to keep this pretty simple. So we're going to go with Chrome driver. We're also going to install Sauce because we're going to be using Sauce Labs. Oh, and Applitools. We definitely want to install Applitools. I'm going to see if this installs the latest version. That might be out of date and might be something that we want to create a GitHub commit for. And I could walk through that. Nothing else in here we want to go with for now. So I'll just hit enter. And then this is the last question that I'm going to leave out. But basically, I would copy this URL and paste it in there. So I'm going to hit Control-C. That's going to escape it. So it's just going to kill that program and not going to run all the install and everything because I already have everything installed. Let's open up this folder. So I did st dot, that's st is my shortcut for Sublime Text. Let's see if I do which st, oh, aliased to subble, which subble, that, yeah, it's just Sublime Text. And then if I do dot, it opens up the current directory, the current folder. So you see that over here, it's in my folder. So now I can use this is WordPerfect here. No, it's not WordPerfect. This is Sublime Text. And I can hit, I think it's Command P on a Mac. It's going to be Alt P, I believe, on Windows. And you can pop up quick little files that are based on that folder that you opened up. So that's why I like doing that Sublime Text, because now I've got the folder open and can do all the things I want to do on there. So you see I've got the Applitools service installed. Ooh, that looks new. I wonder, do I want to get into that yet? No, let's skip over that for now. We'll get to that in a minute. So we have our CLI installed. We have the local runner, Mocha, Sauce, Spec, Sync, Chrome driver, and Chrome driver service all installed. So our package.json looks pretty good. We could, if we wanted to, come over here and just do WDIO. Now, if anybody runs npm test, it'll run npm, or it'll run the WDIO command. Yep. I've also started setting up some folders. So I've got this first task file in place. Nothing in it yet. I'll save that. I can close that. And yeah, let's take a look at chat. Tried this tool. Luis says, I tried this tool like 1 year ago, had issues with lazy load web pages. Do not know if you can give it a try with those kind of pages. Let's see. Okay, so the idea of lazy load is, say we have all these sneaker results here. The ones at the bottom, so I have my network tab open. If I clear this, let's see if it loads anything. No. So these at the bottom, with lazy loading, what it would do, it wouldn't load these until you scroll down to a certain point, and then it would load it. So it doesn't have that in there. I think what you would have to do to tackle that is basically load the page, scroll down, wait for it to load that specific item, and then take the screenshot or compare. Lazy loading does get tricky with that, so I don't think we're gonna actually be able to take a look at that. No. And yeah, the reason I looked at the network request was if it was lazy loaded, we would see new requests coming in when we scroll down the page, because it would want to load all those resources and everything. There's a question of, am I a magician? I'm going to report that. Can I put user in time? Uh-oh. Nice. You've been timed out for 300 seconds. Can I undo that? Uh-oh. Sorry for putting you in timeout. Hopefully your messages come back. I didn't actually know what it did. And I thought it was going to give me an option to say how long you get put in timeout, but it didn't. So you're in timeout. I'm sorry. Okay. Thanks everybody for joining. If you haven't, if you just joined, thanks. Say hi in chat, and yeah, let me know what you're up to today. It's a good Saturday. Next on my list of things to do. So let's compare these two apps. We have Grid version 1 and Grid version 2. First thing we'll do is we're going to look at task 1, kind of go over that one more time. The Applitools app is responsive. Some are hidden, some are made visible depending on the viewport. Search field is displayed on laptops and tablets, but hidden on mobile devices. So we could actually, we're not going to write the test just yet, but we are going to describe the I'm not going to be too caring about these task names. Describe cross-device elements. And I need to start using my short keys. Whoops, nope, not that. There we go. It should show search field on laptops, tablets, but this should be a fun one. And why did my indentation mess up? You still timed out? How long is 300 divided by 60? 5 minutes. Oof. That's longer than I put my kids in timeout. I don't put them in timeout. That's too much work for me to try to keep them there. Okay. Your job is to visually find such changing elements and ensure they are properly hidden or displayed in the different viewports and on different browsers. So one thing I'd like to know from you is how would you approach this? Would you basically do a element 1 displayed element 2 displayed, element 3 not displayed, and element 4 not displayed. Would you put them all in one test, or would you split this up? Would these each be individual tests? So basically we do another it there, on and on for that. Yeah, let me know your opinion on that. And this is going to be interesting because we're going to run these tests in multiple browsers. And I think what I'll start with is running them locally in one browser, but at 2 different resolutions. That's what we're going to start with. So I can close that. And I need to know how to do this. And so, okay, I want to run these locally. And they're currently set up to run in Sauce Labs. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. And get rid of that stuff. No, not there. Here. And I'm going to call it wdio-sauce.configuration.js. So this is going to be my sauce configuration. And it's going to load the config from our main configuration file. And then it's going to do a new exports.config. We're going to use the new JavaScript. I don't know how to say, how new it is. Are you still timed out? I can view. How do I restore you? Oh well. Okay, so it's going to use object, not destructuring, the spread operator. That's what it's called. It's going to use the spread operator to load all of our config from here. And then I'm going to move that out. So basically my main configuration is going to run in locally, not using Sauce Labs. And then my Sauce Labs configuration is going to use Sauce Labs. I will move that there. That's going to take a little bit of work. And then I think that's all I want. I am going to increase that timeout a bit. Yeah, actually right now I'm going to cut that timeout out and we're going to move it up here. And we're going to say let timeout equal I'll explain this code in just a minute. So this is going to let us pass in, when we run our test, I can say debug equals true. And then when I do that, it's going to use this super long timeout because that's what we set it to. And that's going to be helpful if we want to use the debug command or we have something that's running slow. Otherwise, it's going to use the normal timeout. And then that timeout gets, say, loaded in here to Mocha. Okay, everything else is the same. So we'll save that. So now our local file will run locally, or yeah, local config will run locally. And then in our sauce configuration, we load that config. Now we need to take our services, get rid of Chrome driver, keep Applitools in there, and then add the sauce config. So there's a few ways we could do this. Let's do this. Constant services is equal to config.services.map. we're going to look at the service, and what we're going to do is we're going to just, if we did just this, it basically would look at this services array. Let's move that over here. This is a little bit of advanced JavaScript, to be honest. So we have an array of services here. It's going to look at that array. It's going to map it. So mapping basically takes each item of an array, and you can change it to whatever you want it to be. So the first item is going to be Chrome driver. It's going to get passed in to our function, and then we're going to return just the service. And that's what we want to do for all the services that aren't Chrome driver. But for the service that is Chrome driver, we want to split it. So let's change this to do a function old service. Return the old service. Welcome back to chat, Michael. Sorry for banning you, and I'm sorry all your messages were deleted. Are they still deleted in chat for everybody? Because they still show as deleted for me. Yeah. Then we want to do if, let's not call it old service anymore. Let's just call it service. If service is equal to Chrome driver, then we're going to return, instead of Chrome driver, we're going to return sauce. Otherwise, we're just going to return the service. And basically what this does is we take this array and we change it to be sauce. So that's what we do there. And then we can take our services and put it there. Now, anything that we add after, since we already have a services in our config, oh, people are unable to see the code. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Thank you for letting me know. And I will actually make that screen bigger. That should be better. Yeah, anything you put here is going to overwrite anything in there. Oh, I see. I'm in the way. Let's move. Oh, I can't move me. I'll move me there. It's not quite as nice, but I forgot about how when I'm up there, or yeah, up there, that I'm blocking the code. Oof. Thank you for letting me know. So this, I'll leave a quick comment, remove or replace our service with sauce. Yeah, there's a couple other ways that you could do this. You could do a filter to take out the Chrome driver service and instead, and then add sauce at the end. This should work just as well. Yeah, when we get to it, we'll double check that everything works. But that should not be services. That should be, oh yeah, it should be services. Whoops. So yeah, this services is going to overwrite the config in there. There we go. Now I mentioned that I was going to compare these two. So let's look at this homepage, which is already there. And there's going to be a few things we want to do. They mentioned the search bar. So let's see. Let's look at what our selectors could be. There's an ID on there of input text 42. That's a possibility. I would love if it would have had like a data QA type or ID of search. That would be awesome, but that's not there. So we're not going to be able to use that. There is a class here, custom search input. That's going to be pretty helpful. There's also an ID there. These class names are not very helpful. They're just too generic. So probably with our search, we're going to use this custom search input. So let's jump back here. We'll be jumping back and forth. And we're going to do search box, kind of the start of a page object here. In fact, let's do that class of, what do we want to call this class? Let's do this side by side so it's not jumping too much. If I go to a product page, see how that header is still there? So I'm going to make this a header component. And we're going to use this header in our main page. So we're also going to have a home page, and then we're going to have a product detail page as well. And I think those are the 3 main pages we're going to look at. And so we have our header component. So I come in here, I'm going to create a new folder. I'll call that components. And components are going to be part of the different parts of the site. So let's go up to my page objects, components, and we'll call this header.js. And get search box. If you're not familiar with page objects, I don't know how much I want to get into it, but let's do a quick review of what page objects are. Getting distracted by things. There we go. A page object is a way to reference different elements on the page. So here we want to reference the custom search input element, and we'll call it the search box. And it keeps your selectors kind of tidy and in one place. So that's really helpful. And this is, I would call this a page component instead of a page object, because it doesn't represent a full page. It represents a component of the page, which is the header, and it's going to be used by our home page and our product detail page, and we'll get to that in a while. You can also create custom functionality. So if I wanted to create a search function, I would do function search, and we'll do text, and we would do something like this dot search box dot set value. It doesn't have autocomplete for me, and we'd pass in the text. You could just call this straight from your test, but we probably also would want to have clicking this button as well. So there's another one, button type submit, button ID, and there. So we could do search box submit. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. It's not my favorite selector, but it'll work. And then we could do in our function this dot search box submit dot click. And now we have a full function that searches the text that you want to do and clicks it and waits for whatever if you want from there. You can also, in our page object in WebDriver IO, if we didn't want to have this selector repeated, we can do this dot search box and then use that selector, and it will limit this selector scope to the parent element. And I like that. And in my naming, I include a $. That's just my nomenclature for letting me know that this is a WebDriver IO element that's returned from the page. So that's my header, and yeah, we'll keep going down that path. So we're going to keep looking at this. Let's compare this to version 2 then and see how that search box is. So the class is still there. The input type of text is 42, and that's also 42, so that's good. The button submit is 43. They're both 43s. So these IDs are a possibility still for us to use. I like to stick with classes if possible, just because they're a little bit simpler. Yeah, all of that looks about the same up here. Kind of switch between the two, and this has a little bit different class naming. I bet that's it's a built-in bug right here, how the class of desktop none is missing from this. That's one of those bugs. So let's see, if I switch, what would that be? So D would mean desktop medium display block. As you can tell here, Hat Media, and let me make sure you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. So these are media queries, and they're used to hide and show things on the page, depending on the size of the viewport. So here it says at the medium viewport, which is a minimum width. So if the browser is larger than 768 pixels wide, then have the display be block. Now, on the other side, we have this display none that basically, okay, the way this is Bootstrap. So the way it goes is we have two classes here, a display of none, which is the first class. It gets overridden by this display medium block. So the display none sets the display to none, so it basically hides it. But because we've added a second class of display medium block, it uses that class instead. So this means when I'm on the mobile view, see how this is not showing. This element is not showing. Compared to here, I'm betting, yeah, there's that search bar that shouldn't be there. So that's going to be the first test that we write. So let's get to it. Cool. Any questions so far? No? Nobody in the back? How am I going to write this? And let's hide that so we can get a little bit more view here. We'll move you over there so we can reference you. We're going to write two parts. We're going to have the desktop view, and we're going to have a before hook that calls browser.set trying to see if my autocomplete works. I think it's set viewport size to a certain bit. Sorry, I'm looking at my capabilities, and I don't know if you can set the resolution on here to a certain size. I know in Sauce Labs you can set the desktop resolution to a certain size, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the viewport size in my before hook, get that right, and then, oh, that is not right at all. Function, yeah, I definitely messed that up. There. I'm going to set the viewport size to the desktop viewport size, and then to the, we'll do the same thing for mobile. We could, let's go back to the documentation here and see what they had for the different sizes. So this is desktop, they had tablet, and then mobile. Mobile portrait, use the latest Chrome for traditional, use iPhone X, and portrait for ultrafast grid. Let me know if my microphone goes off because I keep bumping the cord, which I shouldn't do. So we want a laptop, a tablet, and a mobile size. So we'll call this laptop view to go with their nomenclature. We're going to go with a mobile view and then the tablet view. So here's where I go to. Should I say should show the search field? Show. Or would I go with should show the correct elements? What about set window size? I actually don't know what it is. Let's look that up right now. Go to the API, scroll down to set window size. Yeah, that's the outer size. Do they have a viewport? No, I don't see a viewport. Let's see you in search. Applitools, to be displayed, to be visible, is displayed. Sometimes in here, the search up here limits results to like 4 or 5 results, so you don't get everything. There, I swear there's a viewport in here. No, I guess not. Okay, that's fine. Maybe it's in Chromium. No. Let's go back to WebDriver and see. No. So basically, it would have been in this side navigation if it was there. So we definitely want set window size instead of set viewport size. I was kind of just going off of memory there. We're going to pass in the width and the height. So we'll come back here. And let's do just an object of viewports. And then that object is going to have a laptop, tablet, and mobile. And yeah, we'll do width and come back over here. Oh, well, I'm gonna have to copy all that over. Oh, man. I just want the different viewports, and I don't have to switch back and forth between the website and Sublime text. So instead, what I'll do is this: width, height, and we will do the same thing for tablet and mobile. Copy that over. Same height and the same height for mobile. How funny. So they all have the same height. Set window size, viewports.laptop. Oh man, width. This is kind of verbose, but we'll do that just to keep it a little bit clearer about what's going on, and then it's a lot easier just to tablet, copy and paste, because we only have to change one spot instead of 2 spots, and then mobile. All right, and add some semicolons for the fun of it. Have a question. You think you can set the viewport in Google Chrome args on the Chrome settings? Probably. The one reason I don't want to do that is because I'm going to be testing this in Firefox and Edge. I bet they also allow you to do that. It would run faster if you have multiple browsers. Instead of having, you know, 3 different tests or 3 sets of tests all in the same file, you have 1 set of tests, and it allows you to run that file 3 times in parallel. So that might be a little bit faster. We might switch to using that. I just want to go with this for now. Yeah. So should show the correct elements. Yes. Next, this wouldn't be bad to move to a constants file. Let's go ahead and do that. Module.export. So I'm moving this in order for us to be able to use these viewports on multiple pages or multiple tests. So I'll go back to create a new folder called utils. Never know what to name that folder, and we're going to name it constants.js, and then we want to load that in. Wire // because we are in this folder, so we need to go up 1, up 1, up 1, then do utils /constants.js. That will load it, and then we want our home page, our home module.exports, our home page object to be written. Here we're going to export the header. Now we're going to create a class of home. And we're going to get the header, turn a new header. So this is how I use my components. There's actually a few different ways to add components to your page. This is kind of composition. It's not my favorite because it gets verbose, especially if you have nested components. It's a lot. There are other ways that you can basically have the header be added to the home. I don't know. It's a bit more complicated that way from the code perspective, because there's no good way for in JavaScript that I know of to do something like import header or even just like add header. So it would basically take all of the functions on here and add it to this home. There is extends, but that's not. The header is part of the home page. The home page doesn't get built off of the header. So yeah, there's a couple of other ways to do that, but for now we're just going to stick with this. So now we need to require our header, which is under our components directory header. And let's save this to our page objects as home.js. And then jump back over here, copy that because I don't like typing, and we're going to do a new home. Quick little note about the two ways that I did this. If you noticed, I have a capital H for header, a lowercase h for home. And on the export, you see this returns the class, and this returns a new instance of that class. And the reason for me doing this is just to add a kind of this self-documenting notion to the page of anything with a capital H is going to be the class itself. And that way you can call new on it. If I had done that, which isn't a terrible option, I could just return the header here. And then this would actually all be lowercase. It doesn't have to be lowercase, but I would make it lowercase because it's an instantiation of this header. Basically, it's a copy. It's a created version of this header. But if I wanted my header, let's undo that. say there was something unique that I wanted to pass into this header, like a unique property or something that would be used in this class to define some sort of functionality that's special for on this home page. You have to have this special class name or something. By having me instantiate the header here in the home file instead of in the header file, so I'll undo that, it allows me to pass in that property. Otherwise, I wouldn't really be able to, and I'd have to come up with some other way to pass in that unique property. So that's why I do that. Now, with my home page, I'm not going to be passing anything special because this is the most special of the pages. Like they're not going to be extending the home page, I don't think. So in that case, I can just do the full instantiation so that when I go to my test, I can do home and that should, goodness. So // page objects / home. Yes, that is. Now we do that with the lowercase h, and now we can just do home. And we can use, let's write our assertion now, expect home.header. Bring that over. Gary the Gnat is back. Oh, I'll let you live a little bit longer, Nat. Header, and come back to here. It's going to return a new header, but this will be lowercase here. And then we're going to do our search box. And we're going to do expect on desktop to be displayed. So this is going to assert that the search box is displayed on the home page when the size is right. Okay, that's our first test written. It took a little bit of work, but we're getting there. This is the new WebDriver IO version 6. It has a built-in expect library using expect.js that has custom assertions. Here we have the custom to be displayed assertion that checks that the element that you pass in is displayed, which is super cool because normally you would have to do dot is displayed and then you do to be true. And while they both do the same thing, this one, if there's an error, it'll say expected false to be true. This one, if there's an error, it will say expected this element, which is going to return that selector, to be displayed, which is a lot more helpful when you're going through debugging and everything. I think we're ready to run the test. We're going to run it locally, like I mentioned. We don't need to set debug true. We can just hit npx wdio. And, oh, it didn't like that the Applitools key is not found. That's all right. Here it doesn't like the way I wrote that. Well, I probably didn't do that right. I think I probably needed to do like that, or maybe just like that. Maybe just like that. Oh, well, that was just a random thought, so we're not going to worry about that. For now, I'm going to comment out this Applitools. So I'm just going to go like that. I'll keep that in there for later when we get to it. While that's running, the nod says, can we keep a constructor? And if we return any new page, constructor tells us you are on the right page. Basically, it will have the page header is displayed. Not quite sure what you mean there. So maybe if you can give some more details on that. Okay, we have a failing received not displayed. So let's go ahead and add a debug. And now oh, you know what? I want to do the debug equals true because we're going to look at this for a little bit of time and see how that goes. Aha! It helps to load the website you want to test. See how the debug really helps. So we'll do browser.url. There. Now I have the wrong URL. That's definitely the wrong URL. What? Oh. I think I'll move that out there. Try that again. Okay, now it's loaded the page, which is what we wanted. So what had happened was when I did browser.url/, it got rid of that part and it took you here, which is not what we wanted. We wanted to be on this specific page. So that's what happened there. I'm gonna hit exit. It's gonna finish running through the test, and now you see it's passed. Okay, let's try this for mobile. So I will move that only. If you missed it, in Mocha you can do describe.only, and that will only run this test. So it's going to skip these other tests. So I didn't mention that, but it is important to know. We're going to set that. And then we're going to do not to be displayed because we expect the search box not to be displayed because it's a small screen. We don't need that debug in there, but I'll go ahead and leave it for now. And there we go. It should show the correct elements. So that's good. Let's comment that out and do version 2. And now this test should fail. Thanks for stopping by, JH. I don't know your full name. It's, you know, your username, but thanks. Have a good day. I don't know why I said it that way. That was very weird. Okay, so it is timing out. You saw it took a little minute because this will basically retry to find this element multiple times. And while it's doing that, it waits like half a second between looking for the element. And so if you see your test not doing anything, that's a good sign that it's going to fail. Maybe it's a bad sign, but it's a sign that it's going to fail. So here's that full element, that assertion message that I was mentioning, where you get a very helpful error message. You expected this element not to be displayed, whereas the previous version you'd say expected expected true to be false, because we would have expected the is displayed to be false. So yeah, this is a lot more helpful than before. So yes, in our version 2, you see it fails, whereas version 1 passes. I don't really want to copy and paste all these tests over into multiple folders because I'm thinking I can get away with not having to rewrite the selectors. So at some point, I'm going to do, I guess, I don't know if you remember here how we did process.env.debug. Here's what we can do. We'll do app version equal to Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to check to see if there's a version passed in our command line. And if it's set to 2, then use that. Otherwise, use 1. And then we're setting it on a global environment, or a global variable. So I can use that global variable over here. And now I can do string interpolation. So now it will load the page with the version that gets passed in. So it either uses 1 by default if we don't pass anything in, or 2 if we're asking for 2. Not, perfect, but now if I do version equals 2, I can keep debug in there if I want, but I don't. So now if I run this again, it should fail, and then I'm going to try running it again without the version defined, and oh, that didn't fail. Let's see, my URL. Yeah, it loaded version 1. I bet what happened was this came over as a string, and because I used the triple equals, it said 2 is not 2. You're looking for 2 the number, but we got 2 the string, or the character, or the letter. So there we go. You can see version 2 was up there real quick. And now our test is failing. So we'll let it fail. Yes, I just took 2 sips from 2 different drinks. One is my homemade kombucha, and the other is my home brewed tea. Okay, now we have that passing. Cool. Okay. We have our first test in place. We've got different things set up here. And let's do that. So now we're going to go through and, whoops, wrong one. Compare what gets hidden and shown. So we want to, the version 1 is the correct app. So that is good. That's the one that we're going to use for this comparison. Now, there's a few ways we can do this. I could search for this class name, knowing that that's what they used. And it looks like that's the only one there. I do remember this heading, or this header. If I turn that off, there were these navigation items. And let's see how they hide those. Try and get to... Okay, so it shows this, but hides this navigation. So if I go back to mobile view, that's still there. It's still display block. But I think what changed was in Bootstrap, you've got the extra large screen and the large screen, defining how many columns it takes up. And without, so if I change this to SM for small, oh, that didn't do anything. Change that back to large. Oh no, that's XL. Column large 7. What if I get rid of that? So that does do something, but it still displays. Why does it? It still displays. probably don't need to be spending so much time trying to figure this out, but I'm just curious as to what hides it. Because it has position relative and width on there. The only thing it doesn't have at that size are these flex styles. Maybe I used the wrong, maybe there is, no, there is an SM. And I assume small. So let's change this. And let's see what breakpoint. That's at 576. So I think what happens is here, it's still not small enough, yeah, to apply that class. So if I change that to XS for extra small, it's still not small enough, and I actually don't think that there is an XS. So I think what if I did, no, not that either. There is, okay. There is a column 7 that gets applied no matter what, no matter the screen size. It's still not showing. And I'm not entirely sure why. Oh. That's funny. I feel like there's supposed to be a icon right here. Yeah, there's supposed to be an icon there, and it's not showing. Why is it not showing? Div before transition. Huh. Yeah, so there should be an icon here that allows us to open and close it, but there isn't. So mobile menu overlay mask, we want to come back in to there. Div class main menu, it was this navigation. That's fine. Yeah, we just want this main menu. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to use this class of main menu, and we're going to check that it is not displayed on mobile. And let's see if we go to iPad or or tablet. Okay, so now we're going to do main menu. We expect it to be displayed there. We expect it not to be displayed there. And how about that search box? Okay, so the search box is shown on tablet. And we expect it not to be displayed on mobile. Now we need to add main menu, rerun, return $, dot, bop, 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 bop. And now we have our main menu returning. One thing we haven't done is run all 3 of these tests. So let's go ahead and run those. And while that runs, I will answer some of the questions. Okay, let's look back at this constructor question. So the question is, can we have a constructor and then when we return a page, the constructor will let you know when the page is ready and not? Basically, it tells you whenever you create an instance of homepage, it will verify the header is displayed. If it passes and we are on the right page, just a first check before running any tests. Yes, we definitely can do that, and that's actually a very good thing to have. And it's actually something I talk about in my book. I use this exact same thing. So I'm going to show this on the screen for anybody who's not following along in chat. Basically, the idea is we go to our homepage, and we have a constructor, and the constructor will get run anytime a page is instantiated. And now the idea is to run a command that says wait for displayed for this dot header, and it would have to be this dot header dot main menu, or we wouldn't use main menu because the main menu wouldn't be displayed on certain pages or on the tablet view. But I like to use the origin that you can kind of define as, or maybe even like a container class. That's probably the best option. The one thing with this is in the constructor, this command gets run before the test is run, because it's as soon as the home page is loaded, it runs all this, and because of our instantiation right here, it's going to run this. So basically, it's going to be run outside of WebDriver IO, and you're going to have a problem with that. So there's a couple workarounds here. You can, instead of returning the instantiation, you return just home, and then in your before, you do home dot, or you would do home, and then you do like let home, and then you do home is equal to new home. And then when this is loaded, it runs the constructor at that point. So that's how you would have to do it, so that you're only creating the home page inside of your WebDriver IO file. The alternative to that, and what I use, is I stick with this, but then I create a load function. And this load function will run whatever we want, wait for displayed. And then in our test, we're going to do home.load. And you could also use that to do your browser.url of whatever you want it to be. And actually, that is what I want to do. Is, let's see, do we need to wait for anything to load? You know what helps with that is if I go to slow, reload that, and this is going to take a minute, but I want to see when this stops spinning, is anything loaded after the fact? So as long as this is spinning, WebDriver IO is going to wait because WebDriver is waiting. So nothing gets run yet. It looks to me there. Yeah, so right at the same time that this stopped spinning, the loading indicator ended, all the network items was loaded. So there's nothing that we need to wait for in this instance. But I'm going to go back here, and we are going to do basically move this over. We're going to say, well, that's fine. Yeah, we're going to move that over, and then that way we don't have this URL in there. The other thing I'm going to do is a constructor. I will do a constructor for the fun of it, and I'm going to set this.url is equal to. I don't really need to do that, but it is handy if I ever want to reference this.url. And then we could also abstract this out to a standard page object, which we might get to eventually. So now I'm going to call home.load, which goes in here and loads the home page for us. So that's useful. Have some more questions. What about document ready state? Or is there some kind of JavaScript function to call that will tell you that the page is fully loaded, both HTML and CSS? You don't need to, because WebDriver, not WebDriver IO, but WebDriver doesn't do anything until that document ready state is set to loaded. I don't know. Let's see what that is. If you're not familiar with document.ready state, it is a just a property of the document, and yeah, it's set to complete. So I'm not entirely sure on the exact details of what WebDriver is looking for, but I know that if it's loaded through the normal ways of so it's going to load, it's going to wait for the HTML file to load, but it's also going to wait for all of these pings to load, the CSS to load, all of this CSS to load, all that CSS, and then all of your JavaScript as well also needs to load. Now, if you have something in your JavaScript that is a asynchronous call, so you load data after the fact, let's see. I was going to show like an autocomplete here. That isn't going to be checked, so you need to manually check that yourself. So keep that in mind. But for the standard HTML, CSS, anything loaded through the standard methods, WebDriver is smart enough to wait for that before moving on, which is good. And in turn, WebDriver IO is smart enough to wait for that because it uses WebDriver under the hood, or Chrome DevTools. But Chrome DevTools uses basically the same thing, and I just spilt my tea on... I spill my tea at least once a day because I get impatient. It takes so long to pour. Like, it's still pouring. Oh, man. I just want it. I want to pour at maximum velocity, and usually that includes me spilling it because I'm not that coordinated. Okay, so we got about 30 minutes left to go in today's live stream. Again, I'm going to be back at this next week, same time, same day, and we're going to keep going through. What I want to do, so we could keep going through and finding all the elements, but I think you get the idea of what the different elements are. I don't want to spend too much time trying to find what is and is not shown. Let's do iPhone X. That's 375. That filters is there. Let's come back over here to this test and resize the browser's width to see cross-device elements, assuming version 2 is buggy. Oh, you know what? We had a test fail. Expected main menu not to be displayed on there. So, not to be displayed. I bet what happened is that while the main menu isn't displayed, it is still displayed. It doesn't have a display set to none. So if we go over to our document or our docs and get the is displayed function, selected is displayed. So there are 4 ways that it would not be displayed. If visibility or display is none, visibility is hidden, if it's not in the viewport, or if the opacity is set to 0. Let me see. Oh, so here it actually returns true. You see that output's true, even though the element is not in the viewport. And that's what's happening here. Our menu, when we close it, it's off over here, but it's still displayed. It still doesn't have a display of none or a visibility of none. So what we need is displayed in viewport, which checks that it has to be in the viewport at all. So if we do this not in viewport again, you see not in viewport is displayed in viewport, it returns false, which is what we want. Thankfully, there is an assertion already there, not displayed in viewport. Not to be displayed in viewport. Let's run that again. And I'm going to keep this as to be no, I'm going to do in viewport because I want to be very specific about it. Yeah, there we go. Let's run this one real quick. Oh, darn it. Man. This is one of the benefits of using TypeScript, is that it will more quickly catch when you do something dumb like forget to capitalize the I in. So it does help in that manner, versus having to run through the entire test, especially if it's later on in the test. That would be bad. Okay. that's that. We've got our set of tests. So the only other thing that we would really be spending time doing here is writing more of these assertions. And I don't think that's going to be too valuable. And we're also starting to run low on time. Hey, look, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I always like that time. I like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I like the time 4:04 because it makes me laugh every single time that I see it, and I see it so many times these days. I see 4:04, and I'm like, oh, this time doesn't exist. And there was a video anyway. Anyway, you don't care about that. Let's get Sauce Labs going. Right? Because I've covered Sauce Labs before, it's not going to add too much. You kind of see how I already have it set up. I basically would just run that sauce config instead of the Applitools, instead of the normal one. So to do that, I'll show you how to do it. I would do npx wdio, and then I would do wdio sauce.config.js, and then that would run in Sauce Labs. So if I run that, okay, I did something wrong there. That's what I did wrong. Run that. Okay, so now it's running and everything. I don't want it to run right now because the API key might show when it runs, and it's not my personal API key right now. It's the API key for something else. That's that sauce access key and sauce username. And I'd rather not share that to the entire world. So yeah, we're gonna assume that this works, and I'm gonna see about getting this set up next time. Hi Emil, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully it's not too late for you right now. No, you're halfway across the world, but okay, we have enough time, I think. Take that down a little bit. What is up, Emil? Just looking at this hackathon and comparing Applitools to traditional testing. So, browser combo. I wish they would have let me copy paste that. Let's take a look at the ultrafast grid and see if we can run this through Applitools. Start with the Applitools tutorial, ready to use code for your relevant test runner and language. Run the test locally using latest Chrome. SDK will upload the DOM snapshot to the ultrafast grid. Let the ultrafast grid render it to all other browsers and viewports in the cloud. You don't need to write reports because Applitools dashboard will help organize this test for you. Set the batch name to that and the test name to that and step name to that. Then configure the browser and viewport configurations and run the test. On the ultrafast grid, set 800 by 600 as a common viewport within the eyes open. Sorry if this is a little bit boring. When running the tests, use concurrency level as 10, so they're all run. Oh, there was a question earlier. Sorry, I completely missed it. Apologies for that. About, do I think Playwright is going to pass up WebDriver IO? Where was that? I meant to answer it, and I just completely skipped it. Will Playwright be better than WebDriver IO at the future? I don't know. Right now, I don't think it is. I think it's a good start for them. But the thing about WebDriver IO is that it's been in development for probably 5 or 6 years at least. And with that have come a ton of features and a ton of integrations. So WebDriver IO, you have all of the services available that I don't think you have in Playwright right now. So you have all of the reporters, all of the services, all these integrations in place. You have the 3 different test frameworks, Mocha, Jasmine, and Cucumber. You have debugging, you have retrying on flaky test, you have this page object pattern, which I'm imagining Playwright probably has, but it has the ability to watch test files and run programmatically, and just there's so much that WebDriver IO offers aside from just running tests that make it a lot easier to build a full test suite. And that's one of the things that I really, really love about it, is that it takes care. It's kind of like, you know, one thing, you have a screwdriver, which you can use for small stuff, but if you're going to be, you know, doing a large project, you want to have a drill. You want to have a good power drill that you can use to take care of all the simple stuff, all the repetitive stuff, and WebDriver IO takes care of that for you, and I really like that. So that's my opinion there. Anyway, let's get back to the ultra-fast grid. And I know I've said that 100 times, and I know this is sponsored by Applitools, so I should say that again. This is why I'm doing this, but I'm trying not to be too salesy or preachy. I really haven't, aside from just understanding how the basics of it works, I actually haven't used this specifically. I have used Applitools in the past. I think it's really neat and everything. Let's accept all the cookies. But I want to see, oh, here's that chart that I was looking for earlier, where you have runs your test, loads it to the Applitools grid, sends it to all the different browsers they have, and then it returns that value. Okay, I know what I want to do. Up here under test frameworks, jump over there. There we go. They have a tutorial here on how to get started. I used it the other day and need to skip around prereqs. So one thing we have to do is an Applitools account with our API key in place. I do have this already set, and it needs to be that, which I do have it set. One thing I wanted to do, come back here under the Applitools service. I had mentioned that we wanted to look at this. So that is version 5. Let's see. You can pass that in. Oh, look, viewports. Usage. Once the service is added, you just need to call browser take snapshot, take region snapshot, blah, blah, blah. So there. That's nice. It takes care of opening the page and everything for you. So this is a little bit different. This service is a little bit different from their instructions, because in their instructions, they want you to, where was it? No, it's down here. They want you to use, instead of the service, kind of install it yourself and not use the service. Yeah. Oh, Hamil had a question. What's my opinion on ThoughtWorks? I don't know what ThoughtWorks is. So my opinion is I don't know. Just a consultancy, I guess. Yeah, you're going to have to give me some more information on that, because I'm not familiar. Sorry. Getting started with the ultra-fast grid. Okay, so this is where those configurations, I don't know if you remember, but here they were talking about those configurations. That's how that would look. And you set your API key, you set a configuration, you load. Oh, I didn't realize ThoughtWorks had built Selenium. I mean, I don't really have an opinion. Sorry. I just haven't worked with them all that much. I think Selenium's a really cool tool and got us so far down the path. I don't use it for my primary development right now because using Chrome driver is much faster and simpler. I don't use the Selenium standalone, but for, like, I believe Sauce Lab still runs on Selenium for running all their browsers, so it's still definitely needed, and isn't going away anytime soon. So results await eyes that get all test results. That's the one though. Okay, so this is the big thing here. is using eyes.check. This is what takes a screenshot of whatever you're trying to take a screenshot of. So in this case, it's the window, the full page window. And I think this is where, who was it? Luis had issues with lazy loading, is if you take a screenshot of the entire window, what happens is you take a screenshot and it has to stitch it together. So it takes a screenshot, scrolls down, takes a screenshot, scrolls down, takes a screenshot. And what happens is if it scrolls down and then more of the page loads, when it scrolls, it might not scroll the right amount, and that can get all messed up. So that's what could be going on there. I don't know if we're going to be able to use the Applitools service. So this is what we're going to look at next, is can we use the Applitools service to use the ultra fast grid. We could definitely use it for the old way, but that's not what we're assigned to do. Go there. So this is the service. So I'm going to actually look at the service code and see what it does. It was updated 7 months ago, so I don't think it's not going to have the configuration stuff in it. So this probably needs to be updated. This just adds some commands. Take region snapshot. Eyes. This opens it. So if we go back here, you see this is run in asynchronous mode. And it uses WebDriver IO standalone. And we don't want to do that. We want to use the full test runner and everything. But what we also want to do is we want to be able to load this configuration. Initialize the ICE SDK with 3 concurrent runners. So we need a few things here. Browser type. Where's that used? Browser type Chrome. Okay. So I think we're going to need to install this. I don't think we're going to use the service, because the other thing is the service in our before function, that's a command. Where's this.eyes defined? That's in the constructor. It creates a new eyes. And over here, so it's a little bit confusing because I need to be able to customize the way that eyes is built out, and it doesn't look like I can do that with that service. So let's not use the service. We'll go back to our services, and I guess we'll just delete that then. And that means that this work overriding the services isn't really needed for now, because we could just do services and just completely overwrite that. But oh well, it was a good example. I'm going to close that because we're not going to be using sauce for now. We're not going to be using that Applitools service, so that's cool. I'll leave it in the package.json just because, you know, we'll do that. Now what we're going to, open that back up. So we have our traditional tests. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to create a new folder. What are we going to call it? Oh, shoot. What was it called? Modern tests. Now I go here. I'll copy all that in. I'm going to do a new file in here. We're going to call that task1.js. And I do see there are some more questions in chat. I'll get to those in a minute. And now I'm going to delete all these tests and do should look visually perfect. And then in here, I'm going to run eyes check there. So we're going to load the home page, run the eyes check, and that's our test. We don't have to do the multiple mobile views tablet view, laptop view, because that is all handled with our Applitools stuff. So we did have some questions. Let's get those questions real quick. WebDriver.io Applitools service is not updated. Yeah, you'd have to use eyes service from Applitools at WebDriver.io. And then, do I have any idea of Tycho with Gauge? No, I don't have any idea of that. Sorry. Yeah, so we need to skip over this service for now. If I have time at the end, maybe we can update that. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to come back over here, install 2 new dependencies. Oops. npm I, that, and also that. And we are going to copy paste code, which is what everybody loves to do. While that's running, I'm going to copy that over, jump back over to here, and to start out, I can take let's keep those viewports in for now. Start out, I'm gonna load it, or I'm gonna have this run in my my test itself, but I do want to move it over to the configuration file when we're done with it. But for simplicity's sake and getting this running, we're gonna load it or run it here. Then we have Chrome. That's gonna create a new driver. We're not gonna worry about that. We are going to create a new eyes. Let's see. To avoid switching this back and forth, let's set these side by side. That way it's not so jumpy for you. And darn, I wish I could hide this. I wish that would go away. Go away, go away. Oh, it does go away. Up, up, up. You have to make it really small and then it goes away. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do let eyes. And then in our before function, actually, we don't need to do that. We can do that here. So it's going to create a new eyes, which is the Applitools thing. That installed, good. Where are we at? We're at eyes. We create a new configuration. We try it. I think that try catch. Oh, okay. So that's just to manage the session. So we don't need the try. We want to create our configuration. And okay. Eyes.selenium is not required now. Browser type and others are available in eyes.webdriver.io. That is awesome. Thank you for letting me know that. So basically I can just move all that up, I would assume. Yeah, let's hope. I don't think we need by. Because, yeah, that's not needed. I'm going to take that out. Do we need target? I don't know if we need target as well. Target.window. Target.window. I guess. Browser type configuration device name screen. Okay. That's fine. Let's go through this code here. This is going to need to be moved there. We'll get to that in a minute. And I think we just pass in browser. So we'll get to this in a minute. Our configuration, set the app name. There. And they had defined everything they wanted that to be. Batch name. We don't have a batch name, so let's... I don't know if that actually works. I think that's actually eyes.setBatchName. Let's see where that is. Eyes.setBatchNewBatchInfo. Test name to task 1. I'm going to skip setting the batch name for now. And the step name as cross device elements test. I wonder where that's defined. So we have a batch name and a step name that we want to get to. Okay, we're not going to worry about that. On the ultrafast grid, set 800 by 600 as the common viewport within the eyes.open method. So that's where that eyes.open is. And if I actually bring that service back up, this.eyes, there was an eyes.open. Where are you? Yeah, okay, so it does use the browser. I'm actually going to copy this over. Global.browser.call. I don't know why it has to use global.browser. I don't think it needs to. So I'm going to take that out. And this.viewport, let's see where that comes from. That's the test that comes in. Test title, test parent, test, or this.viewport. What we can do is this.title and this.parent, I think. And then this.viewport is just going to be, where do they set their viewport? This.options.viewport or the default viewport there. And what did they say that should be? 800 by 600. 800 by 600. And the reason, before I delete that, the reason we need browser.call is because eyes.open is an asynchronous method. And so we need to return that. So I think what I'm going to do, I don't like how crammed in that is. I'm going to essentially just do that the longer way. Oop. And we need to return eyes.open. That passes in the browser, the title. Because we're using this.title and this.parent, we need to use a fat arrow function so that this gets assigned to the Mocha object. I don't know if this is going to work. So I'm going to log that out and we're going to see if that actually has any information in it. Yeah, we'll see about that. And we can comment that out. I believe I have this set already, so we don't need to worry about that. These are my different configurations. Test name to task 1, step name, okay. I wonder what eyes.open, what the function, what's that function, not footprint, fingerprint, I don't know. The different, like what this is being defined as and what this is defined as. Like what is it setting? Ultrafast grid concurrency, so new visual grid runner, they wanted it set to 10. So that was up here. We'll set that to 10. And what else do we have? First test will become the baseline. Yeah, change the URL to version 2 and run it again. The second test is against version 2. Will become the checkpoint. Cool. Add device emulation. Oh, we need to define these. So we'll come back up here and add browser 1200 by 700. Do that 3 times. We're going to do Firefox. Edge. We really could just do, instead of worrying about doing the browser type in there, let's skip that and just use what they have here. What's that? Edge, Chromium. And I'll do that. Add device emulation. Yeah, there we go. Oops, I actually want to use single quotes. I don't know why I'm using both. iPhone X. And then the screen orientation is going to be portrait. Did I do that right? Oh. No, okay. I don't need that because that's part of the function footprint, even though it's not the footprint. Configuration.set API key. I don't actually know if I need to do that because it might actually do it automatically, but we'll leave that in there for now. Let's get our other ones in there. That is 768. So we have desktop, we have tablet, and we have the mobile. So those are the 7 different devices that this is going to run on. Set that, and everything, and close that. Go back to our example. Then we're going to run our eyes check. And if you notice, oops, here, they added a new command called take snapshot that runs this.eyes check. And that's how that works. So we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use browser.call. And the reason that you don't have to call browser.call in here is because you're using add command. It checks to see if you're returning a promise, which this.eyes.check does. If you notice in our example here, we have an await. That's saying await for this promise to return. And so browser.add command automatically does that for us. We need to do browser call ourselves because we're outside of a command. We can look at moving this into a command if we want, but we don't want to. So our title is going to be named, you know, I want to look at what this eyes.open function does. Where would I see that? Where would I see that? Eyes.open. That just passes in the driver. Darn. That would be in a new eyes, which is defined in Applitools eyes web. Yeah, let's search there. Bring that package up. Oh, we're already past the 2-hour mark. Oh, we got 3 minutes left, I guess. So let's see if we can get this running in the last 3 minutes. We can't. I just know it. I'll do that so that I can get to, not the home page. I want to go to open. Browser name, app name, test name, and viewport size. Okay, but we set the app name and the test name in our configuration. So I don't know. Let's just, instead of worrying about that, browser name, what was that? App name would be V1. I don't know, demo app. And then the test name we said was task1. And then the viewport size. We have to do the viewport size, so we're going to pass in those as well, the app name and the view and the test name. So eyes.open. That's what eyes.open is, and then we want to run our check. So we're going to check the title. We'll call this home page. Is that what they wanted us to call it? In our test, cross device. Where is it? Batch name, test name, step name as cross device elements test. Okay, I think that's what that's going to be. That's what that's going to be. Oh, didn't mean to save that one. I meant to save this one. And I wanted to see, oh, in here, the tag, which is different from the step name. Tag defines the name for the checkpoint in the ICE test manager. The name may be any string and serves to identify this step. So I guess that's probably the step name. That's kind of what they're calling it. So that's where that step name comes in. So I can come up here and delete that. Let me go back to, where was it? Here. And let's see batches. eyes.setBatch. Are you not going to work? Possible through environment variable, Applitools batch ID. Yeah, we don't really want to do that. eyes.setBatch provides all eyes instances. Okay. I think I can do that. And not really sure. ID and name. Let's just go with 1. Not really sure about that. And then let's run it. Oh, we need to run only this one file. So this is going to be modern tests v1. So I only put in the folder name. WebDriver.io is smart enough. It should be smart enough. Batch ID is not a string. It doesn't like that that's not a string. There we go. Run that again. It should be smart enough to only run the test files that are inside of this modern test version 1 folder. That's what we're doing there. Okay. So it's got this pulled up. It's homepage. And the thing is, I need to get logged in. And so give me one moment while I get my credentials out. And then once this is done, we're going to call this a day. But it's been really fun. And I, again, will be back doing this again, not tomorrow, next week. I'll save that. Give me just a little bit longer. Oh. Yeah. Sorry, deleting some old tests that I don't want everybody to see. So this might take just a few minutes. Oh man. That's fine. I can leave that there. Why are those? I might have to run this again. Man, that is a lot of output. I wonder why. Holy moly. What is all this? I may have gotten something wrong on the setup. It's like it's logging out. It's logging something out that should not be logged out. Holy moly. What in the world is going on? Jeez. I think they hacked my machine. So one thing I'm going to do, if you want to if you missed part of this stream, by the way, I am going to add chapters, and I meant to write down kind of the different steps that I take. So this executes a script. Oh, it kind of loads all of that in there. Holy moly, that's a lot. Oh, you know, one thing I didn't do. By default, Applitools logs verbose to console. You can change it to a file by adding a config. Okay, I think I'll just ignore it for now. File LOH line LOH handler. Well, that's good to know. It's really handy having you on the stream since you know this. What was I gonna do? I forgot to close it after. I forgot to you have to do eyes.close, and because I was looking at my Applitools dashboard and it wasn't in there, and I think that is what's going on. So in here I need to do browser.call and do the same thing. Get my spacing right. Return eyes.close async. I don't know if they have a synchronous version. The other thing is over here we can get all the test runner results and log those results out. What do they do? After their test, they call this.eyes.close. After, they say abort if not closed. That is weird. I've never seen... I swear I've seen this before in JavaScript. I think it's some sort of funky little hack to allow you to call a method without having to do this bit. And I'm going to run that there. So basically, I'll try to close it. If that fails, I'm going to close it again. And let's run this again. And this time I'm going to set my log level to silent. And it should be quieter. But I do want to see this in my Applitools dashboard. I really do. So it is running, you just don't see it. There we go. Okay. I can do this now. Here we go. So we have our task 1 is the name of the test, our OS, our browser, and everything. So again, it only ran one test. It took 32 seconds, but it actually ran 7 different times. So it loaded the page, saved the HTML, CSS, all the resources and everything, loaded it onto the Applitools server, where that in turn loaded loaded it in all the different devices that we wanted and all the viewports and everything, and then took the screenshot of the entire page. So now we're going to come back in here and do the same thing, and this time we're going to do version equals 2, and we're going to run it. And we might have this test still pass, but on our dashboard it should fail because it should load version 2. Yeah, there's version 2, so that's good. Jumped over for some reason. If I refresh this, okay, it hasn't loaded anything up yet. Give it a minute while it's there, 30 seconds. Now, if I refresh, we have a new task that's unresolved. If we come back in here, now this is where the Applitools Visual AI comes in, and it tells us this is different from before. So let's do full screen on this. these things are missing. So it had taken the screenshot of the page with version 1, and now it took another screenshot, and it's highlighted the areas where it's missing. So we can change, if I remember how to do this, toggle between. So that's the original. So this is, let's do baseline. So this is what it was before, right? Let me double check on that. Pop that over there. This is the original. This is the second version. So you see the original and then the second version. So those two are highlighted because that is a change. That's a new feature. There's a heart button there that wasn't there before. Another thing you can do is, let me see, highlight the differences, zoom in on next difference. I know there's a way, I think there's a way to view them side by side. No, view root cause analysis. I've never seen that. View and manage baselines. No, not right now. Hide diffs. Show baseline. Aw, I have to upgrade my plan to do that. Okay, so that's there. What we can do is we can say we want to ignore this entire region entirely. We can say, like here, that is a floating region, so basically it can move down. Top left, drop down. Oh, there we go. Show both. Thank you. Man, so helpful. We're going to call it a floating region. Apply to other steps in the scope. Let's see. Still learning how this is all done, but now it shouldn't get mad at that specific thing. I kind of want to move this. I don't know if it may have automatically adjusted that for me. Let's delete this. Let me try this again. So I come back here. I still need to learn the exact specifics on that, but I think if I do, that's a floating region. Yep, and hit that. Ah, there we go. So now you can see it handles the fact that that moves over for us. I don't know. It's okay with that heart being there, so that's nice. Okay, so it also throws that out there. If I wanted to, say we look at this, we're like, okay, that's good. The desktop view is good. I'm gonna hit the check mark. So that way we know that everything is good. It will move us on to the next test, but what we can do is, let's go down to the mobile view. Oh, that's the desktop. Let's do the mobile view. Look at this, and now you can see, well, there's a definite issue. So I'm gonna go back to the checkpoint image. Let's zoom in a little bit. And we see that, hey, this search button is here. That is not good. Add a region indicating a bug. Well, we'd have to upgrade our plan. They might have given me a full plan, a full featured plan. So that is, I might need to change my login to allow for that. But otherwise, I can just say, hey, that's not good, and I reject it, and that's good, and then it shows me my next one. That's good. That's good. That's good. Would you like to continue to the next step or close? Let's just close this. And now you see in my dashboard, I've got that this specific test failed. So even though here it says that it passed, we still have some work to do to basically get the results. And if the results say that it's passing, we would, well, Yeah, we could fail the test on our side. And, you know, I'm still too curious to see after test, call close. If not, where do they... Well, it doesn't look like it will check it as well. So I'm not entirely sure about how to make this test fail if it fails on the Applitools side. And the thing is, it didn't really, with the way that Applitools set up, you saw that it was a unresolved. Yeah, it was set as unresolved. So it's not that it failed per se, because you need to review it and see what you need to do the full check yourself to make sure that it really did pass or fail. But that's that. So that's going to wrap it up for today's stream. Thank you everybody for checking out the stream. If you are interested, please take a look at my book. It is for sale. It is 99% complete. I have a few edits to do to fix some things here and there, but all the content is there. And oh, Applitools results will give you a mismatch count. So yeah, that's what comes in at here. This will tell you if everything passed or not. The one question is, I have to close it before getting all the results, and I do that close in my after hook, but not in my page or in my test. So what I might do, or what I could do, is move this, and specifically move this inside of my test, since it's a pretty basic test. But anyway, back to it. Yep, I've got my book out there. If you're interested in it, please take a look. It's a lot of content. It talks about web app testing using WebDriver IO, and I'm actually just starting to create a course based off of this book, a video course that's an update to my Learn WebDriver IO course. And it's going to be the book, but in video form. And I'm really excited to get started on that. And it's, keep an eye out for it. I'll have a landing page where you can give me your email, and then I'll let you know when early access comes out. I'm probably going to do early access about 30 people. They're going to get the first 10 videos of the course when they're ready to go. That's going to be the first chapter of the book, essentially. But not only that, I'll be doing 2 30-minute one-on-one sessions with just you and I, and I'll answer whatever you want to know, whatever you want to know. If you want to spend it talking about testing, I'm happy to talk about that. If you want to spend it talking about CSS, HTML, JavaScript in general, I'd be happy to talk about that. So that's going to be part of the early access program for the course when I get ready for it, which hopefully will be sometime in September. I'll have that ready for sign up and everything. So again, thank you for joining into this stream. If you've stuck around for this long, I'll be back for part 2 next week. We are going to keep going down, probably take a look at task number 2 and see how that works out. And until next time, have fun testing.